Welcome to another episode in Brit and Poland. This week I am speaking to Edward, and Edward has a rather, unique connection with Poland. So we're going to talk about his background, his connection with the country, his plans for the future, but also we're going to have a bit of a moan about the UK because, well, it's just good fun, and it's not only Polish people that like to complain. So. So Edward,
Hi there.
tell people a little bit about your
My
background.
background?
Yeah, like where you're from, what you've done in life, just top highlights.
Right. Okay. Top highlights. My mother was from Warsaw. My father was from the Poznań area. Now, he found himself in England just before the outbreak of war in 1939. And she suffered through the whole war with three brothers. And she managed to escape in 1954.
Wow.
And 1961, I was born, because that's where they met in England. And in 1966, 67 was the first time I came to Poland with her, because I was born in England. And virtually every summer holiday for the next 10, 15 years, it was Poland. 2 months, 3 months during the summer. Fantastic.
And it was always like different cities, or did you focus?
No, we focused on, because she had, and obviously I had family here. I still have family here. I have a cousin down to the south of Warsaw and another cousin to the north of Warsaw. And we had relations in a place called Konstancin.
Yes.
Which where we stayed most of the time, Konstancin Skolniów. And that was our sort of base of operations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was within easy reach of Warsaw, even by then standards.
Yeah, these days
the old round buses were
it's just
brilliant.
a bus away.
Yeah, were brilliant. And even from the age of 7 or 8, I was on a bus with a ticket for something equivalent to about 2p, and I was in Warsaw in half an hour, 45 minutes, running around the city, looking for the decent cinema with a decent film going with some of the mates that had just broken up from school here in
Nice.
Poland. So yes, that was mainly. But we also went to Augustów, the Lake District, and we also went to Kołobrzeg, Zakopane, obviously, Kraków, because another member of my family belonged to the party. So they had special places which they could, the holiday camps, yeah, as opposed to the other sort of camps. So they had, and her husband was one of the railway, worked on the railway, so he could get concessions onto their holiday programs. So in Augustów and in Zakopane, we were on the railway, sleeping in railway carriages and converted railway carriages and things like that. And in Zakopane and Kraków, they had special little huts in their own sort of like exclusive areas. Nothing fancy. It was just sort of like
these
a
like
miniature
wooden huts. Or
in Kraków, it was wooden. In Kołobrzeg, they were purpose-built concrete ones, but they were the little chalet type things. But it was like literally a bedroom with 3 beds, a lounge which you could do the sofa up in, and maybe if you brought yourself an electric heater or something, you could heat something up for food. But they had a canteen and everything else. But usually you were on the beach or going into town and getting stuff, so it's not a problem. Yeah. So that was my life for my Polish life for a lot of my growing up.
How about your English life? What were the highlights there?
The highlights. The highlights.
We'll leave the lowlights for later.
Nothing special, really. Although I did, obviously school, college. I went to the Marian Fathers in Henley, which was a boarding school. Although I wasn't a boarder because we lived in Henley. We still do. Lived in Henley. And then it was a choice of. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I wanted to do something in architecture and design, and that was when Mum said, "Well, well, you're good at Polish. You don't need to do anything in Polish. So, because I got my A levels in Polish and everything else is this not and
you're fluent,
I'm fluent,
yeah.
and I am fluent. So, so she said, well, we'll go to the embassy and see if they've got any places in Warsaw for you. And they said, yeah, sure. And I actually got a grant for that. And I was here in Warsaw on Koszykova at the School of Architecture for 2.5 years. And then they shut the country down. Martial law, thank you very much. Tanks on the streets.
So
yeah, I was going, what am I going to do?
It's bad timing, really.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. So it was December. I'm sort of like, I think I thought, God, I don't know, we're going to struggle through this. So I came back, and I used to go to the college regularly, even during martial law, but nobody else was turning up.
But what was it like on the streets during martial law? I mean, I've seen videos and pictures, but like,
it was. There was a silence. There was a silence and there was certainly less people about, obviously, but there was a silence that people didn't want to sort of like make any odd gesture just in case. The word was out that they'd actually, instead of taking soldiers or whatever, they'd actually let criminals out of the prisons to actually help police police people who were going to be unruly. Because don't forget, Solidarity was starting up then.
Yeah, well. Yes.
And that's what they were afraid of. So they said,
yeah.
well, yeah, here's your baton, and we'll give you a policeman with a firearm and all the rest of it. So 3 of them used to wander around with a policeman and 2 other people in sort of uniform. You just tried not to raise your voice, and it was that sort of like tension that kept it sort of like, then you got into the thing. Once I was with the professors, they were phenomenal. They were having none of it either. They was so it was great. We used to, instead of having lectures or anything, we used to have a cup of coffee or something. One of the funny things was, as soon as they said, "Oh right, you're a foreign student, you need to take Polish as a foreign language," I went, "Really? What other foreign language?" And you need to take a foreign language as well. Okay, so I'm doing Polish and English, am I? So I was the assistant to Polish for the English people, and I was assistant to the English for the English people, and it was for the English students. So basically, I just sat there and read out, or conversation wise, or chatted, and so the English teacher. Well, first it was a professor, and then it was an English teacher. She would sort of set up a conversation, and then she would say, "Do you understand?" "Yes." "Okay." "No, didn't. What did he mean by that?" And so it's basically conversationalist stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so I didn't have to worry about any of those 2 things. So brilliant. And I got taught by probably 3 of the best professors that probably the School of Architecture have ever had. I had Waldemar Wysiak, which is Waldemar Baldhead. Now, you might know him as an author because he's a very... I don't know if he's still alive. But he was a very knowledgeable on Napoleon.
Yes.
And the Napoleonic Wars. That was his shtick. And he had published quite a few novels. Professor Hryniewiecki, who did the Super Sam and the original stadium across the river, and various other things. So those 2, and my professor of drawing and art. He was a regular contributor to architecture, AD, with his drawings. Quite a lot of the time in those years. You had to buy. Well, you didn't have to buy it, but you could look through a book of sketches and designs for houses, because they had to be that, and they were measured to those things, and they were priced up at that.
Mm-hmm.
It was phenomenal. But most of those things he drew. They were all freehand. There wasn't any sort of like digital scanning or anything like that. You're talking about, So yeah, that was fantastic. And then I had to come back, and then I went to Kingston Kingston Polytechnic, actually, one of Valdemar Wishak's friends was the assistant director of Kingston Poly, and he said, "Yeah, come in." But after starting again after that, it was tough.
Yeah,
because I literally had 2 years to go, and I had to sort of like jump back, so it would have been 6 years in total. And I struggled. It was more than I mean,
it's hard to have the motivation at that point.
I didn't. I literally, because I was retreading ground and I was trying to be different, I struggled, and I dropped out after the second year. I had to forget it. That, and I met my wife. A year later, I had my son, and struggled a bit. And then I sort of like thought, well, I'll go to do some drafting or some design work at some studio or whatever. But wherever I went, and it was literally, the timing couldn't be worse, because suddenly the recession's hitting. They're letting people go, and there's me coming in. There's me coming in, and he was going, yeah. And the guy who digital drafting was just coming in. They were just these big tablets and things were coming in. And I said, and I was asking questions which the guy didn't actually know answers to. And I was sort of going, I've put my foot in it again, haven't I? Rather than being stupid and say, yeah, I can draw a straight line. I was sort of going, yeah, well, how do you do this module? How do you do? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, we'd like to have you, but we're letting people go at the moment. Trust House 40 was exactly the same. So I had a meeting with one of the chief designers of their hotels, and he was all for it. He had a girl from Yugoslavia that was Yugoslavia. I think he said Yugoslavia. I can't remember correctly, but I think it was that was drafting. And then Yugoslavia started blowing up, so she didn't go. So there wasn't a space for me to sort of fill in a junior role as chief coffee maker and just draw me them 15 lines.
So it's kind of like a case of like fate against
you.
Yeah.
I was sort of going, I was bloody hell. But it's been like that all the time. I was too young to go on Operation Drake, and I was too old to go on Operation Raleigh. You know those two. The two ships that they sent out to the South Americas, so that the kids could do the summer, God knows what, in the jungles and survivals and stuff like that. So I was too young for one, too old for the other. I would have bitten everybody's legs off to get onto that one. So that's brilliant. So there's me struggling with a wife and child. She's got herself a job in a pub cleaning and doing the kitchen work, and I eventually said, "Well, stop this. I'm going to have to find something to keep bringing some money in. Right, I can't sit on the dole for nothing." And started in it was a Pier House Inn's restaurant that changed to what was called a Falstaff, and then changed to a Harvester. Now, I was in there for the transition of all three, because when they did both, basically what they did was they put one in, and then they were which way should we go, Falstaff or Harvester, and eventually Harvester won out. So I was there for the transitions to all that. But I walked in, and literally I started on the washing up. And that was it. And then I saw the chef, and he was literally falling down. He was so worked off his feet. And I said, his name was Paul. I said, look, Paul, I called him Chefy. I said, Chefy, look, just tell me what to do. I'll do the starters, you do the mains, and then we'll sort out the desserts afterwards. So I was out of the washing up, onto doing the starters. And literally within about 4 months, we got hit with Mother's Day. We did something like 350 covers on Mother's Day without a single mistake.
Wow.
With no mistakes, no comebacks, no coming back, nothing. That was perfect. And we almost set up a company that farmed out the chefs from other harvesters to those that needed it. Because we used to on our days off, we used to go to somewhere, like I was in the Henley area, so I went to Bracknell on nights, and it was cash in hand. Thank you very much. I said, I'm coming in, you pay me that much, and I'm not doing a cleaning up. I've done enough of that already all week. Thank you.
And it sounds like the Polish blood at work, the hard work.
But I mean, there was 4 of us that could actually go. I mean, some of them could go further on because they didn't have any more other commitments. But and I did that, and I did the bridge at Wheatley, and then I transferred to the bridge at Wheatley, and then I thought, no, this is too much, and I transferred to a regular pub restaurant in Walgrave, not Walgrave, Nettlebed, and then from there, the problem with that was quite often the ventilation systems weren't too good, and eventually I found out that I was becoming allergic. I began wheezing in the kitchen, and I couldn't understand why. And anytime I wasn't in there, no problem. I walked into the kitchen, I thought, no, I've got to give this up. By this time, it's 6 years down the line, and I can hold down a kitchen on my own. It's not a problem. And I thought, stop this. So I jumped ship and went to a local video shop, a local one in Henley,
like Blockbuster or something like that.
It wasn't Blockbuster. There was our price. Our price then changed. That then took up Blockbuster, but it wasn't that. It was a private lady actually ran it, held it, and that was it. And I managed that for her for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started transitioning to digital, to DVD, and to all that. And she went, "No, I'm not doing all that."
Yeah,
she said, "No, I'm selling everything off. We'll have a big sale, get rid of everything, pick what you want, thingy." But she said, "My husband runs a print company. Do you want to work there?" I said, "I've got nothing. I have no idea what it is." I said, "I've got no idea what it is." He said, "Yeah, but you know a little bit about computers." I said, "Yeah, about a little bit." I was okay. This is the beginning of computing and computers, so Windows 3.1.
I remember that.
I bought my first machine for 1,500 quid.
Yeah.
That was a hefty slice, but I bought it and it worked, and and I learned Corel Draw.
These days, it's about as powerful as your thumbnail.
And the architect's CAD, CAD programs and stuff like that, so I could do it. PageMaker and some of the other ones. But yeah, so I could do that. So I walked in and first of all, it was sort of like find your footing, because we don't know. He'd only just started as well, so he was making the mistakes and then saying, "Oh shit, we made a mistake. We've got to do it this way, that way, that way." And then it was about 2 years, and then the actual sales model was, I wasn't aware of the sales methodology, and it was wrong, because what was the customers came to him. I mean, we had a whole list of printers that would print jobs for us, and they were very reliable. And companies would come to us, individuals would come to us and say, "We need something." We specialised quite a lot in house details for agents, the glossy ones, for the, Hamptons and all the big, And suddenly he got into making bigger literature magazines and things like that. And one company it smelt from the beginning, but he was quite into doing that. And they said, "Well, we want this, we want that." And they gave us everything, we printed it all. And they said, "Well, yeah, the cost for that is now 500 and something odd thousand." And they stopped answering us.
Oh.
Yes. And they apparently, it's not that he didn't do research. He did. I mean, there wasn't anything that you could see that was wrong with it. They've done that previously for a couple of years. Just changed the name slightly, went to something else. So they'd got all his product but didn't pay for it, and they were sort of like advertising. And we were wondering, even we went to court and everything else, nothing came of it. So basically, he's owing money to everybody because he's printed this. The printers are demanding money. So we said, "Look, what we'll do, we'll set up a side company, myself, one of the other project managers, and the secretary. We'll set that up. We'll do it as an open billing system where they'll still get that, but what we will do is we're basically the go-betweens. We will handle the way it works, but you will see immediately how much you're going to be paying, who you're going to be paying, and ours will be a percentage off the top.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody went, what? And suddenly a Southern Electric contractor contacted us and said, we want this brochure, this in-house brochure. And they had reps and print reps and these people running around the place. And we sat down with a guy. This is what we'll do. He said, yes, we'll do that. Oh, we'll give you one issue. Just try it this time. Fine. So we did it. He said, are you sure you want just 2 pages? He said, yeah, well, that's all we can afford. And I went, oh, okay. And when we sent in the bill, he said, are you sure? Have you not left a zero off of this or something or whatever? And it was literally because he could see how the product worked.
Mm.
He suddenly went, hold on, we can actually afford 4 or 5 page magazine for that, for what we were paying. You just cut our cost to a third or a quarter. So that's where it went to. And I'm not ashamed, but I'm sorry to say that half their print department got sacked. So they saved on the money, so they saved on the offices, they saved on the wages, they saved on everything else, and they just said, this is what we want, print it. And that's the way it went. Thank you, we want the money.
Mm.
So within about 6 or 7 months of the new company forming, we were turning over something 4 or 5 million pounds.
Wow.
You know, and that's, you know, I mean, the percentage on that was small because, you know, we're not going to risk sort of saying, well, no, we're going to take 20% of that. No, because it's ridiculous. But yeah, we had Longman's publishing. We did some Polish stuff. That was a headache because I had to do all the not all the translating. I had to make sure that it was
like the proofreading.
The types, yes.
Mm.
Yeah, and it was great because it's only a small, slim volume of the necessary things. But it was funny because I went back to the guy, and he was great. He's just one of the old schools. I went, there's your stuff. There's your one. Now, do you want a list of the stuff that they've got wrong? Because they translated some things which were fine, but that's not what they mean. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it was basic words.
Like literal translation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're going, that's not what they mean. Because sometimes you say devil and diablo, and it's not, and you'll say devil and Satan, or you say Shatan and whatever. But like you have, there's a Polish book called Szatan Siódmy, Ósmej Klasy, which is, it's like saying Satan from class 8, but it isn't. It's like the devil. It's like the demon, because he was just totally wayward. But so the meaning's wrong. And I'm going, and there was quite a few of those. I was like, no, if they can't get it right, that's the way they're getting it. Because it's for their Polish division.
No, fair enough.
So fine. I said fine, but I had to find out. I had to because he didn't know. I had to find somewhere. I got the letters, the
type keys.
The typeface, the typeface for the Polish styling, because nobody could find any of that. So I had to go to London, to Hammersmith, to the Polish place, and I was pestering them everywhere. I was like, where do I get the typefaces for this? Because I need this for the computer, blah, 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 blah. And eventually they gave me an address. I phoned in, I got a disc, and I had to download it, and someone else had to download it. Then the printer had to download it. And oh, for goodness sake. So that was that fun. And then, and he could sell sand to the Arabs and fucking snow to the Eskimos, but he undermined us all the time. We could do things very, very well, by 3 or 4 of us, but it was the old Star Trek thing. Listen, they phone you up on a Monday, say they need something by Friday, tell them you can do it probably by Monday or Tuesday next week. But don't say you can do it by Wednesday, for God's sake. Because if we don't do it by Wednesday, then they'll say we're rubbish.
Some good logic from Scotty there.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. I said, don't say that. Say that. They're going to be happy if they get it next week, because obviously everybody's told them they can't have it. And if we do deliver it on Friday, they'll be praising us to the skies. No, he kept doing that. He kept some kind of fanciful stuff. Eventually, Tesco opened in Henley, and I went, I just want a quiet life. Oh God, that prison was a nightmare. I jumped ship then and went to Tesco, and I just started on the night shift, and it was just steady money. rather than hoping that the bills would get paid. And no, I mean, there were, but I mean, it was steady. And then I went from there to merchandising and stock control, and I was one of the first helpers to set up the home shopping system that they got, just the tryouts on it. Yeah, and then sort of like, what was it, 2018? They said, "Oh no, we're going to make you all redundant because we don't need so many people." I said, "Thank you, give me the money."
Yeah, I've been there. My dad's
Yeah,
been there.
so literally 6 months before COVID, they made me redundant, and I thought, oh God, took half my pension as well, drew down half my pension. I thought, okay, I haven't got that long till I'm 67. Sod it, I'll do it. And then all that happened. In fact, I was busier during COVID than I was any other time, because everybody was at home and they were saying, "Dad, can you go and do some shopping for me? Can you do it?" Because I was the only one with a car. Dad I was out every day rather than sort of like every week. If anybody stood there and clocked in it, hey, wait a minute, he's out and about so often. How come? Oh, it's terrible. But that cost me a lot of my money. And then by that time I've had 4 kids, and they're all making their way, and they can't make their way, and then the politics comes into it. Thanks a lot, everybody. You're swines. Just undermining everything.
I mean, yeah, we can go on to the cost of living fun in the UK because it is a joke.
Well, the joke is we wouldn't have had a problem if they had actually done Brexit properly. If they had actually done it, and I wasn't even thinking about the law aspect, the human rights thing. I was just thinking, you cut it off at the head. If they'd have actually just said, no, we're stopping this and we're doing like Trump is doing now, tariffs, yeah, we'll sort it out between each other. Do you think VW and BMW and all the other European manufacturers would say, "Oh no, we're not going to do anything"? No, most of their money comes from the UK. They would have been banging on Merkel's door, going, "Oi, we've got a car out here. We'll take you to Downing Street to have a chat because we're going to lose money."
Yeah, but the problem is,
but they didn't do it, and the reason they didn't do it, and nobody actually mentions this, most of the ministers, both Labour and Liberal and Conservative, in the Houses of Parliament, have got their pensions and their shares locked in European companies.
That makes a lot of sense.
So if they said, "Oh no, we're quitting all this," suddenly their shares drop, and they're going, "Oh, we're going to be out of money." It's like my father said: "Follow the money." Follow the money.
Well, that's it. You have to look at some of the crazy decisions that have happened in the last 20 years and wonder why on earth would anyone make these decisions if there wasn't money involved.
Well, listen, I'm a Boris Johnson fanboy. Yeah, I mean he was our mayor for our council, MP for 3 years, 4 years before he quit that, and then went to mayor of London, and then went to prime minister. But none of that was evident in anything that he did. Yeah, and then suddenly he's in 10 Downing Street, and obviously his wife's got to turn around because she's a Green fanatic. Said, "Well, if you don't do what I want you to do, you're not going to get in my knickers anymore." And obviously he's because he's a sex pot. he what he is, So he definitely, obviously that swayed him, and suddenly we've got these green agendas.
Oh yeah, the green stuff is amazing.
And I went, I was going, "What the hell are you doing? Just sort Brexit out first of all. Don't." And nobody mentions the fact that it's Blair's fault that the borders are open. So, "Oh no, we'll only get about 200,000, or was it? No, he said, what did he say? 200,000 maximum import. Yeah, 2 million later over that same period that he was thinking. Rubbish, absolute rubbish.
Yeah, it's starting to hit Poland bizarrely, but Yeah.
Well, no, you've got Dominic Tarczynski in the European Parliament actually shouting his head off like Farage. Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah,
I love him.
But we also have Donald Tusk.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, like,
there's a Euro arse lick over it.
yes. Well, I mean, like, I had that interview the other week with the lady from immigration.
Yes.
And, when she said that there are like 750,000 people coming in a year at the moment, I'm like, oh, it's almost
legally.
Yes.
Legally, because there are no illegals, which is why there's no problem. Dominic keeps saying, we don't have terrorism. He says, because we don't accept your rubbish. You can have your doctors, your engineers and everything. You pay them. We don't want them. You have your problems.
Saying that, I saw a report yesterday, like we're starting to get people from Germany now under the radar. There was some Somalian chaps in Szczecin.
All right.
There are some centres being built, apparently. Like, I don't know how much I can believe on media versus what I can't believe, but I mean, there's wind in the air, like because there have been a number of marches in Poland recently.
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, in Warsaw, there was one a few weeks ago. There's been lots in, is it Schwupsk or somewhere?
Schwupsk could have been,
yeah. Yeah, like along the German border, they've been stopping cars and stuff coming in. The Polish people, a lot of them are afraid about immigration now.
Well, they've already been worried about the Ukrainians. It's not the fact that they're Ukrainians; it's just how many have actually drifted in,
which is fair.
Which is fair, as you say. A lot of them, a lot of them want to go back, just so long as it all stops. You know, I know that because the reason I keep visiting Poland now, well, one I love it, and I keep doing the touristy bits like you do. But my sister's not very well. My cousin's not very well, sorry. And so I come and visit her and cheer her up and all the rest of it. And she has a Ukrainian helper who's been here now 5 years. I mean, even before this thing, anyway. But they came over before all this kicked off, and now her husband is afraid to go back. He's not going to go back because he just either get called up or called a traitor. So he's into his foot in two camps. But she's going back in a couple of weeks, and but they've got friends, and we chat about this all the time. And she said, "Well, we would, but stop. Well, where are we going back to?"
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it both ways. Like, because I've met a lot of Ukrainian people here in Warsaw. I think we had the bulk of people from Ukraine living here. And especially the ones that were here before. They were leaving Ukraine anyway, so like they're happy to stay. And there are a lot of them, as you say, that are just waiting for things. Especially the women, I've noticed. They just want to go back to their old lives, their normal life.
They want to go home. They want to go home. I mean, eventually it will be that they will stay because things haven't settled down, and that's the fact of it. There's no two ways about it. The longer you stay, the more roots you put down. If you've got children with you, then they're going to grow up here. They're not going to be wanting to go back. So your arguments are starting to be swayed the other way. Then the discussion stops. But
do you hold much track with because I hear this a lot, especially on like Lotus Eaters, that it's organisations like the EU that are actually prolonging the war.
Yes, I totally suggest that. That's one of my biggest arguments. If you noticed, the argument stems back to when Farage 3 or 4 years ago was saying, "Look, they want us to pay for an EU army," and they'll go, "No, we have no intention of having an EU army."
I remember.
There's no intention of having an EU. Everybody said, "No, there's no one's mentioning it." He said, "They want an EU army. They're going to push it forward. They're going to do anything they want." And the palaver with the invasion of Ukraine means that they're now going, "We want a Ukraine army. We want an EU army." And thank you, Keir. We don't want to hook up to that and pay and give them the money. I mean, we're giving enough money to France for doing nothing for the channel crossings.
Oh yeah.
What we're going to it's basically what Starmer's doing is opening the British wallet and saying, "There, help yourselves."
Yeah, while giving away our assets at the same time.
I mean, excuse me, but this latest agreement that he's given away loads of things to. I mean, from fishing to all the rest of it. For what? So that maybe the travel gates for the passports are going to work.
Which
and
is
it's
decided
not,
on a country-by-country
basis. Yes, exactly. Not by the EU. So the EU go, yeah, we'll agree to that. The countries have to agree to it, but we can agree to it. Whether they follow suit, I don't care.
I mean, there was the other maybe, which is maybe we'll let you sell your weapons in the EU. I think that was the other part of it.
Well, why don't we just sell them in the Middle East? They want them enough. But anyway, but the thing is, there was this, even during Brexit, there was all this argument of why every time there was a discussion, it was, we want fishing in the UK, in UK waters. And I couldn't understand this for the longest time. And then just by chance, one of the YouTube videos popped up from a few years previously about the limits, the fishing limits, quotas in the Med. The EU has no control over the fishing quotas in the Med.
Who does?
United Nations something Territories Commission or something.
Oh, okay.
So they actually set them. And when they were arguing the first time for Brexit, they were saying, no, we want 20% of this. They were already up to about 30% reductions in the Med fishing. So their Mediterranean fishermen were going bankrupt.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
So, yeah, I mean, you can track it down track it through YouTube and whatever. That, check all these things out. So
they were getting screwed in the Med, so they wanted to compensate.
So they wanted to come over and compensate there. No. Back to the Cod Wars, please.
We need to arm our fishermen, I think. They could be our navy.
I mean, they could. They could easily be our navy. I mean, this is what we want. We want those fast skiffs that the Americans have. That when they're defending stuff, we just want them up and down a channel. We don't even need to shoot anybody. We just need to cut the pontoons. I mean, I don't understand why we are prohibited by the European Court of Human Rights from sending people or stopping people halfway across the channel, while the French aren't allowed to stop them in the water. They can just help them along. Well, that's trafficking, isn't it?
Yes. And
so my facetious point is this: send out an army ship. Soon as the French ship turns up, impound it. No, impound it.
I like this.
You are trafficking. You are trafficking. No, we're doing this by the government. So the government is condoning you ferrying illegal immigrants across the channel. How can they answer anything but because that's what they're doing. I mean, we've had the video evidence of it. Are you ready to pick them up? Yes, we're ready to pick them up. Thank you very much. Well, excuse me, why didn't you pick them up?
And, it'd be nice to get a bit of revenge because, they're impounding our fishing vessels, even if they have the proper licenses.
Even when we were within the common market and early on in the EU, how many times did you hear the news stories of our refrigeration lorries being stopped and unplugged and goods spoiled? I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of times. Our beef, our pork, our milk and everything else, it was always being stopped and ruined because the French were causing problems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sorry, I normally tit for tat isn't good, but just getting the tit and not giving any tat is, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, Britain's become like a soft touch since the 80s,
yes,
more or less.
Well, I mean, they used to call it Treasure Island, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last strong thing we did was Thatcher and the Falklands.
Yes. Or Thatcher in Europe as well.
Mm.
But that was the thing. When we joined the common market, it was supposed to be a common market, free trade. Not unregulated, but without the red tape. But the only reason we were allowed in was if we destroyed our own production: pork, beef, milk, eggs, chicken, and all the rest of it. We had to cut those down. Cars, steel, whatever.
Yeah, because
that had to be. Yeah, but it wasn't a case of right. There's the EU. We'll drop our production 5%. You drop yours 15%, so it evens out. No, it was we're not going to do anything, but to join, you must destroy yours, and that's what happened.
But even after that, they then put on some ridiculous regulations.
Yes.
And yeah, we weren't allowed to sell beef because it's like mad cow disease and like all
Yeah,
bird flu and all of this.
I mean, we should have just sold them horses, shouldn't we?
Well, they did it to us.
Yeah. So
I think some Polish people were involved in that actually.
No, only if it was pork. I mean, there was a case back in the 70s, I think, I believe it, where there were Poland wasn't in the EU at the time, and there was some deal going down, and I'm vague on this, but there's pork and bacon was being, for some reason, Denmark wasn't playing ball, so the British was trying to buy pork from Poland, and then they said no, we're not. They got it all ready, and then they said no, we're not going to buy it, and then the Poles had too much of it, and then they came back a month later and said, yeah, okay, we'll buy it, but we'll have to buy it at a lower price. So they were trying to screw them that way. So there was something dodgy there, and it was there's loads of things going on like that. It's mad. Yeah.
So one of the things that's bugging me a lot is why is our government betraying the UK at the moment? Like they've
that is a question you will have to ask God, because there is no reason for it to be happening. Because why would you? I mean, it's just not logical. We know any economist worth his salt can go back through the history of the 20th century, and every time you put taxes up, revenue comes down for the purse. And the biggest surprise was when Thatcher started taking away all the rules, all the taxation and loosening everything up. The coffers started to fill up like nobody's business. We became rich, So taxing everybody into oblivion right now is madness.
Well, especially with the way inflation is going as well, it's like a double whammy.
Well, no, it's causing inflation for the most part. People have, I mean, there's just no logic to it. I can't see the logic. They think, we're gonna tax. Labour's always said that, and every time Labour's come in, the country's taken a dive. Every time, historically, all the time, and every time the Conservatives go back in, they've had to build it back up again. I mean, it's been that. I mean, we shouldn't have a 2-horse race anymore. It should be proportional representation. I mean, in Henley at the moment, we've got the Liberals. Oh dear.
Yeah, we had them in Oxford.
Yeah. Well, that's where it started. Oh dear. And Oxford, what? They're not allowed to travel into Oxford anymore. Oh, it's 15-minute city now, isn't it? They've put all that ULEZ stuff in and
in Oxford.
Yeah, they're starting to do all that. It's difficult. You get fined for crossing something or other. They're going to bring in the. I
mean, they did
the amount of times you can cross between something or other.
They pedestrianised the town centre a while ago.
But I mean, but now, I mean, I used to drive into Oxford, park in behind the centres. It was about £3.50 for a whole day or something like that. Walk through the shopping centres, walk around Oxford, do a bit of shopping, come back out again. Brilliant. I didn't go in again. I literally, I had to do it once, and the rates of parking there were it worked out like something £1 a minute. Well, I mean, just nowadays I don't think you can get in now.
I mean, they rebuilt the Westgate Centre. I don't think they added any parking, but what they did, which was spectacular, is they put all new shops in the Westgate Centre, and most of them were high end. Hugo Boss and designer stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to revitalise the high street. And of course, it killed a lot of the high street because traffic was moved to that part of the town.
Yes, but don't forget, who's buying in Oxford?
Students and tourists.
Yeah, some tourists. Yes, they're not going to go. They don't need to go to Hugo Boss. They'll get it at duty free.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And the students aren't going to go for Hugo Boss because most of them haven't got any money unless they're sort of like
Well, I don't know, Oxford students.
foreign Foxford. No. Unless they're foreign funded students, English students. They'll go out for a beer. They'll get plastered. Fine, but it won't cost them. But they're not going to go to Hugo Boss. They're not going to go to, or most of them ain't going to go to Hugo Boss unless Dad is paying for it.
I mean, the funny thing is, like Oxford, it's like seen as like a very posh place, and I mean, people accuse me of being posh and stuff like that. I'm just lucky that my parents knew how to speak.
Yes,
because it has some of like the poorest estates in the UK, places like Blackford Leys.
Yes, absolutely.
There are only a couple of districts I can think of where there's real money, and then there's a couple of middling ones, and then a couple of poor.
Yeah, well, it's not all Morseland, is it?
No, certainly not.
But no, but it's all of these things. I mean, hitting the reason he wanted to take away the winter heating allowance is because pensioners vote Conservative. So even by his own people, I think he's actually stated in saying it when someone else was in a previous government, when he was just standing up, he said, "Oh, if we take the winter allowance, X amount of people are going to die." I think he said. Well, I can't remember the exact numbers.
There was a report.
There was a report.
Yeah, there was a report which was used against.
So now they're thinking, oh, but if they die, they don't vote for the Conservatives. I mean, there must be that. There's no other logical way of thinking it. He's not saving money.
Yeah, but it's just what the Remainers were saying during the Brexit referendum. Oh, if we wait a bit, have another referendum, half the people who voted will be dead.
Yeah,
which was a charming thing.
Yeah, but what was the reason that everybody wanted to vote Remain? So that it would be easier to travel in Europe. That was the thing at the top. There's not the trade or not the thing. And I was thinking, so what the hell are you talking about? And then I had this conversation in the newspaper with someone. Someone was saying this, blah 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 blah. Oh, when you can't get your melon because you've left the EU. I said, what? Wait a minute. Have you seen where it comes from at the moment? I didn't realise Israel was in the EU. It's got the Israeli sticker on it.
We can make our own croissants.
Yeah. I was sort of going most of our string beans and things are coming out from South Africa and some of the African places, in Nigeria and everything else, because we've got stuff there.
I kind of get it with some things, like some wines, maybe they became more expensive.
Good. They weren't that brilliant anyway. I preferred some of the Australian and the South African and the South American ones. The American ones, I'm not quite sure. The Californians. But the others, no.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like, obviously, we've touched on the economy and how that's going through the floor at the moment. But like a lot of the things,
we thought it was going to hit rock bottom. No, it's found some lower levels.
Yes,
certainly found some lower levels.
It's only going to get worse. But I mean, there are a lot of things that upset me about what's happening in the UK right now. But I think one of the things top of my list is the kind of political prisoners we have now.
Yes,
did you hear what happened to oh bless her, what's her name?
Are you talking about the tweet?
Yeah, Lucy Conley.
32.
Yeah, she was
32 months in prison.
Well, she was beaten up at the weekend by guards.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was just on.
I've been here 2.5 weeks and I haven't.
She was supposed to go to like a nicer cell for good behaviour, but they turned it around and they have dragged her to a worse cell full of like all the drug dealers and the dangerous criminals. The cell itself was covered in shit, after somebody died in it. And the guards roughed her up because she asked why she was being sent there. Richard Tice actually went in to talk to her. So it's
yes. And what did she do? She just wrote something.
You wrote a tweet.
Okay. It was maybe ill-advised, but it was a tweet.
Yeah, but also
it wasn't.
If you read the thing properly, she wasn't inciting violence. It was saying nasty things, but it wasn't.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, because this is where the book burning and everything else starts to come into play, doesn't it? But the statistics are something like 30 people a day are having their doors knocked on and being actually taken away and cautioned and arrested for something they've done on the internet.
But we only hear about it if it's someone high profile.
Yeah, but then again, what were the last two? The last two people were the two rapists had less than Letby.
Oh yeah.
Got less than Letby. I mean, come on, they've just raped an underage girl.
And if you do paedophilia, you're not sent to jail at all.
Oh no, you just get a position at the BBC, don't you?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like there is something sick and really twisted about our judiciary, and I mean, I think it's got to come from government as well. Like they say, Lord Hermer is dictating a lot of the rather dodgy things that are going on behind the scenes with the prisons, and I wonder what his real life story is. I wonder how many people he's abused.
I don't know. But then you've got Keir Starmer on the other side of the wedge, which is the fact that he wrote most of the rules for the European Court of Human Rights.
Yeah.
So he's not going to say we're going to withdraw for that because it's not worth it. Because that's his life's work. I mean, what if... Over the years, I've travelled to a great many places. There are places I still want to go to. They're a bit dodgy at the moment. But a great many places. But every time I used to come home and used to sit down and go, I'm back home.
Mm.
I'm scared of going home. The last 2 years, every time I've got home, I've gone, oh no, I wish I didn't need to come back.
Don't get me wrong.
I felt better here. And I know I've got Polish heritage and all the rest of it, but it was still on the tourist side.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong.
But now, oh no.
I miss the British countryside. I miss the food. I miss my family. But working there, living there, no, I never felt safe. No. I never felt comfortable.
It's become existing there, not doing anything else.
Yeah.
And it's difficult, you know. I mean, I've got they've raised the pension. I should have got pension next year. I've got to wait 3 years now. It's 67.
I gave up on the idea of a pension a while ago.
What are you?
41.
Oh yeah, you ain't got a chance. You've got no chance. Make sure you got something private, mate.
That's why I work on the channel.
Stocking up. Yeah. No. Seriously. Seriously, there's nothing else. I mean, every time I meet someone, even my friends, even some of my other family members that are there in England, I'm sort of saying, "Are you still here? Why don't you run away? For God's sake, get out! If you've got a transferable job, leave, because there's no way. There's no way."
Yeah, you know? Because I mean, a lot of people are pinning their hope on the next election and reform.
Yes, fine. No, fine. Yes, so am I. I want them to get in, but I'm realistic. It won't change everything overnight.
No, of course not. And to be honest,
and don't forget, you've got Whitehall and the red tape and all those bureaucrats that are going to just put a spanner in the works every time you want to do something. They literally have to do what Milei did.
They need to burn down the civil service effectively. They need to get rid of them. They need to start.
Well, it's like Clarkson said. Go into an office. If you can't tell what they're doing, sack them. That's it.
I like these people calling for Clarkson to be prime minister. I think. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he ought to have even if he just does it for a joke. You to have a proper manifesto. A proper manifesto.
I mean, I'll be honest. I have got my concerns about reform now because I think that they're drifting a bit too much into Labour territory on some of their policies. And I don't know if I trust Farage anymore.
This is... Yeah, I know. I've heard this. But then... This has been the problem between Labour and Conservatives. If Conservatives get in, they don't touch anything that Labour would do. And if the Labour comes in, they touch... I mean, they destroy it and do something totally different. Whether it was good or bad, they'll destroy it. And that's the problem. And because probably Reform are going, yeah, but that policy's not bad, we can use that, and they're they're going in this route, and they're finding
kind of gerrymandering.
They've got to pick. They've got to cherry pick the good stuff that could logically work, and then people are getting, oh yeah, but that's what Labour are doing. Don't do that. Well, oh no, I'm sorry, but if just because the chef murdered somebody in the restaurant doesn't mean that his food wasn't good.
Yeah, no, that's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a way of looking at some of these things where you need to cherry pick and say, well, actually, this guy's got good ideas. I'll take him.
I get that. But when I see, because I'll tell you my personal hope, it's like a fool's errand because it will never work. But I'm still hoping that Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib will create something wonderful.
Because get back together again, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they'll get back with reform. I think that bridge is burned if you listen to any of them. But I have a lot of respect for Rupert Lowe.
Well, Ben Habib's back on board with reform in certain respects. So
I don't know. Farage keeps saying over his dead body.
But the latest is he's been heading something similar to Doge.
Ben Habib
for them. Yeah, he's been doing stuff. They've
the last couple of weeks, is it?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. They seem to be sort of like seems to be an uneasy sort of truce with him, sort of like not being back in position or anything, but he's still sort of part of them.
I mean, that maybe explains why I haven't seen him talk about launching his own party for a few weeks, because that was supposed to have come around about now.
Yeah, that would have. No, I think he must have realised that he can't launch another party because that's 15 years. I wouldn't give it less than that.
Yeah.
Because he's starting from scratch no matter what.
I mean, there are ways...
And there are lots of people who are in the camps of Labour and Conservatives that have now gone to reform and probably, will, despite the troubles, will go, no, I'll stick with this, because they've got to iron it out. I mean, they're not even a year old, so come on.
True.
They've got to iron it out. Yes, they're going to have some dodgy false starts and all the rest of it. Fine. But, yeah, I mean, no.
Yeah, okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to have to start being more positive. I think I've
watched... Well, I wouldn't go that far. I really wouldn't go that far. I'd stay at a distance, just... Rather than go to the stadium, just watch it on the screens outside.
Yeah.
And you'll avoid the hassle. No. But that's what I've been recently trying to find out for the last couple of years, of how to actually obtain Polish citizenship, because
how is that going? Because
it's not going at all.
But have you contacted?
I haven't contacted the lady that you're talking to. No, I haven't. I will take the address off you for her and
it's all under the interview, like
in the notes.
And she's lovely, and
I have to, but I have to sort of brace myself for doing that, because me and paperwork and stuff like that don't mix anymore. I can't fathom it anymore. I can't really suffer it anymore.
I mean, I think this is where they can help, because they take a lot of that burden off your shoulders.
As long as they don't charge too much, it's fine.
I don't think they're that bad. I don't know what the costs are, I'll be honest, but they seem more genuine to me rather than one of these like corporate agencies.
But I'm gonna need to do that, because the information when I was here last time, I was getting different information from everywhere, and then I perchance, and it was quite funny, because I perchance managed across two email addresses to the consulate in London. Polish consulate in London, to which I banged off the whole explanation letter. Look, I'll be trying this everybody keeps telling me something different, blah blah blah, and all the rest. What's going to? What exactly do I need to do? Can you give me an A to Z? Well, I got from the secretary of the consul. I got the old letter saying, well, you do this on the website. This is the address. No, that's the one I've been on, and it's all rubbish. The next day, I got one from one of his secretaries, who must have taken pity on me, and did a whole big letter saying, well, this is what you should do. You can do it through the consulate, blah, 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 this, that, the other. And I'm reading this. I don't understand half the words that she's asking.
Yeah.
I'm going, what does this mean? And then the next day, I got one from another secretary of his. Totally different. I gave up. I really do. You know? I mean, my mother's buried in Pomorski here in Warsaw. You know, my sisters, my sisters both are, my two half sisters are buried in Powszyn, outside there. Half, you know, all my uncles are here. So you know, I mean,
the thing is, you clearly have a right to be here. Plus, you speak Polish, so it's like the full package. But yeah, like speak to Beata, she will know. Like, and she will probably be able to get the paperwork rolling.
Because yeah, I mean, it's just a nightmare. I mean, also, I don't have any documentation for my mother and my father, because they're pre-war children. There's virtually no paperwork for that. There is some evidential if you go on to sort of like the historical sites. Yes, there's a registry for the birth of this person there, that person. You know, there's that. But I don't have any birth certificates or anything like that. There's a naturalisation for my father in the UK. Obviously, he must have. I haven't checked, and I'm probably not going to go into the war records or anything like that. But he did join the army in Ireland and then transferred to Scotland with the Polish brigades in the English army, and he was there for a while. But he never spoke about it. I also know he got a chitty for a medal, which he then promptly threw away when I found it. Not the medal, the chitty. And he said, I don't deserve that. Everybody who deserved it is dead. You know, so, and also found a pair of flying wings. So I'm sort of going, paratrooper badge wings. And I went, were you doing something dodgy, Dad? Because he was, I mean, in 5 languages, you know, trained properly, you know, I mean, he was, you know, I'm sort of going, you know, you never told me what you did. Oh yeah, I trained with the army in Scotland. Yeah, and then I got mustered out at the end of the war in Guildford. And I went, yeah, but there's 5 years in between. What did you do? No.
Yeah, we have a similar thing with my grandmother, my mum's side. We know she worked with Enigma. We know she worked with Polish pilots. We don't know exactly what she did, and she wasn't allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, I think if you wanted to talk about it, you probably would have talked about it. But no, but my mother was in the Armia Krajowa. I mean, she was in Warsaw during the whole thing, the uprising, everything. She was carrying radios in a pram, you know, and weapons and ammunition. I mean, there was, you know, I mean, there were moments she literally
she's lucky
described.
To have lived through it.
There was the Jewish author and the pedagogue who ran the children's for Jewish orphans, and that was one of her first teaching places, assisting him. And when everything just exploded in Warsaw, they actually hid him in their house. Now this is out in Klarysew, and my cousin's dad, Uncle Vitek, lovely man. He came out from one of the camps that the Germans had him in. He walked home during the winter, froze his soles of his feet off. But he was being held because he didn't have any papers, so he had to be shuffled from place to place so that they didn't sort of like, you know, where's your papers? And they were both there. Him and Korczak were there.
Oh, in the
in Klarysew.
Oh, Klarysew. Okay.
It was down one. It's further down in the countryside on the roads.
Okay. I haven't been to that one.
It's Konstantin Klarysew is the first one you get to before the railway and the papiernia and then the health spa. And the Germans had this tendency that if they smelt baking, they would raid the house for food. And of course, well, you've got to cook sometime. And they saw this bunch of Germans heading into the garden. I said, "Go hide." And they had an outside loo, one of those the wooden thing. Now it was a 2-door loo, and the simple reason for the 2-door loo was you went down one. There's a big, dirty, shitty canvas. Went under the canvas, and it looked like you're shitting down. Literally, it was like a priest's hole underneath the loo.
That's clever.
Well, it is until one of the Germans comes in and pisses all over the canvas. But that's how close they came to getting caught. You know, And literally, Uncle told me about it. So I went, oh my God. And then he found out. Literally, it was there that they sent him the message. They said that they're evacuating all the Jews into the ghetto, and he said, "No, I've got to go." And she was actually sent by the resistance because she was favourably looked upon in some of the German offices, with a message that she could actually get him out because he was famous, and even the Germans sort of like slightly regarded him because of the stuff that he'd written. But she got to the station before they got shipped out, and he said, "No, I'm not going. I'm going with my children."
Mm-hmm.
That was it. So it's all that. It's all built on that.
How about we make a slight switch to some positive vibes?
Yes. What positive vibes would you like? I think the world is lacking in positive vibes.
Exactly. We need more. So, what do you think is so great about Poland?
Oh, the culture, the people, the food,
everything,
the history. Listen, at the moment, it's happening again, and if you look through history, each event in history is pockmarked by a place in Poland. The Swedes attacked, they were stopped by Poles. The Turks attacked, they were stopped by Poles. Vienna was invaded, it was stopped by Poles. The Mongols attacked, they got stopped by Poles. The Poles and the Germanic tribes were part of the downfall of Rome. How much more do you want?
I'm hoping we don't need any more.
It's going to happen if that doesn't stop. If to the east doesn't stop and to the south doesn't stop, it's going to happen.
You think Russia will really push over?
Well, it depends. It depends if the EU buggers it up.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, that's a good point. I have no faith in the EU. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
But look at the culture. Look at what happened. There are books and photographs. If you go to any of the museums of Warsaw, or even in Polish museums, and you look at the history, you see what was before the war, you see what happened during the war, and you see what's after the war. You see how they rebuilt it. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, there was. I had a book. It was Warsaw Before and After, and in it there's some aerial shots of the centre of Warsaw from like the centre onto the old town.
I've seen a few exhibitions. Yeah.
Well, I showed that to a person once. I mean, not someone ignorant. Literally. I mean, we're discussing things. I went, "Where's that?" And he said, "Hiroshima." Because that's what it looked like. There wasn't. There's nothing there.
Yeah, there's a really good museum in the old town, which is about like the reconstruction of the old. It's like a lesson.
Yeah.
Like that's probably one of the best. Obviously, the Uprising Museum shows you a lot, but that is like a really good.
I mean, they rebuilt it brick by brick.
From all around Poland, a lot from the German palaces, I believe.
So I've heard. So you say. I don't know where they got it, but and again, my cousin's dad was part of what they called the odgruzowanie, which is where they were taking down all the stuff that was going to fall. And another story that he told me, what they did was they hooked up the facades that were really crumbling with chains, hitched them onto the horse and wagon, made the horses pull them down. The thing is, he was the monkey that was going up the top and putting the chains on, which was great. They were getting so used to it and doing it well. One day they pulled it before even getting down. So he actually literally walked out from underneath, all covered in stuff. He said, "You could have bloody waited," literally. But, he was so skinny and scrawny that he probably slid down some stuff and whatever, from the third floor and all this rubble as it was coming down. But he said,
I do have one question.
Yeah. Ask away.
If you are, let's say when you're successful and you can get, your residency and your citizenship in Poland, what is your plan? Where will you go? What will you do?
Well, as I said, there's 3 years till I retire. So the plan, I don't know. because it depends on costs.
Mm.
I mean, I've got people as I said, I've got family that I can stay with. I'd rather not. Literally, the last 5 years have denuded me of funds, so it would be a rental system based on how much I'm getting from whatever the pension I'm getting. So it would be that. Plus, I was thinking, yesterday I was chatting to someone, to my other cousin's husband. Their granddaughter is learning English in privately.
Mm.
And I literally casually turned around and said, if I were to come over here and manage to stay longer than this stupid 3 months, that's the 90 days in 180, would I be able to earn some extra pin money by doing conversations in English for people to learn? And he said, yeah, it should be all right, especially with the private schools or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I said, oh right, okay. We left it at that, but because I'm not going to push it if I don't know if I can.
I think you'll find the majority of English people in Poland are doing exactly that.
Right. I mean, it would be literally on top of a £1,000 a month pension. Well, it's 1,200 now, isn't it? 1,200 a month pension to add some, spending money would be great. I mean, I could do that. It's not a problem. And I do a lot of writing as well, all sorts of writing. So I've done some fantasy science fiction and.
Well, you're also contributing to the paper,
and I'm contributing to the paper, which I intend to gather all those up and call them the standard letters. But yeah, I mean, that would probably be my ideal fantasy, to do that. Whether it gets there or not, and how fast it can get there, I don't know. I think my daughter will probably say, "No, Dad, don't leave me. I need help."
Well, bring her over.
Because they all do. Well, I don't know. She's literally, my daughter's. This is her first year. She's been on the job training, but she's working in a preschool, and so are my 2 grandchildren. So one of them's with her, and the other one's gone up to the year 1 into the school. So she's enjoying that, and she says that's her happy place. So she's enjoying that. I mean. Originally, she started off being a singer, dancer, and musician. Dancing's gone a bit by the wayside. She's hurt her hip by overstretching. She was trying to do splits when she shouldn't have been doing splits, and now that's a bit there. But she's a brilliant singer. She's a very good. She plays by ear, so she can play the guitar and the piano. Talented. She's very talented. My other daughter's also got a tuneful. She's got a slightly lower voice, and she sounds brilliant. She could be sort of like, like Etta James or something, that jazzy sort of voice. But she's so unsure and shy of herself. It's unbelievable. But on her last day of secondary school, they had a concert, and they were doing concerts. And of course, one of the teachers was one of the mothers was a previous singer of Boney M.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Right. So they got a band together, and they were going to perform. And I heard this because I was standing right through. You could hear it through the tent, and they were saying, "We need to reschedule this because we're not going on before Imogen because nobody's going to listen to us after they listen to her." And yeah, she did 2 songs. She knocked the socks off and everything else. But she's so shy. She wouldn't do it on stage. She literally got through that just. But she did. She was the voice of Seymour in the
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh my god!
In the background, because she couldn't be seen, and she was phenomenal. Such a jazzy voice of Seymour. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
That's the plant, right?
Huh?
Seymour
Seymour is the plant.
Yeah.
No, Seymour's the guy. The plant, I can't remember what the plant was.
Did the plant
Seymour,
have a name?
I don't know. Because the plant goes, "Feed me, Seymour, feed me."
So I remember Seymour was then Rick
Moranis.
Moranis, in the movie. Yeah. It's one of the few musicals I like, because I'm not really a musicals person, but that one is something special.
I like some. I don't. My favourite's Don Quixote, actually.
No, fair play.
I just like that, the heroic nature of some of the songs in that one are superb. But Jess has been in a young production of Les Mis and Jesus Christ Superstar, and it caused a big family rift when her mother said, "No, you're not going to do Phantom because you've got O levels and blah 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 and all the rest of it."
It's a difficult age, but I mean,
it wasn't a difficult age. It was a difficult mother. A difficult mother, yes. Oh, I've had a problem with women, The first one left me, the second one wouldn't, that kind of thing. So, it was the beginning of the end, and literally anything that was positive, she used to knock back, and we're not going there.
Mm.
We're not going there. But it's funny because they wanted to promote Les Mis, and half the people couldn't get in from town to Henley to the square. And I said, we don't know what to do. We've only got the male voice and all the rest of it. And I was, hold on. And I said, Jess, gargle, and run down to the square. You can do this. And she actually did they had the speakers up in Henley Town Square, and she did all the vocals for the promotion on that, in the town, and everybody, when she opened her mouth, everybody stopped. Everybody went.
That sounds special.
No, she's fantastic. I mean, she's a Disney girl. She loves everything Disney.
I have a cousin like that,
and so she knows every single song. And now, obviously, my granddaughters know every single song. And she hasn't really swayed from that, apart from those 3 musicals. So, but yeah, she's written a couple of melodies herself and sung them. So yeah, no, she's brilliant.
I'm going to ask one more question.
Just one?
Yeah, just one. Because
we can do a part 2 sometime.
Yeah, of course.
When I come back in September.
Yeah, of course. That sounds good. What is your favourite place in Poland? It's a difficult one because
no, it isn't. It's difficult in as much as, where would I want to be to put my feet up if I was living? Then probably down in Skolibów, down in Konstancin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I probably, it's
because you have your family.
It's out. No, it's not just that. I like the
greenery.
The greenery. Yes, yeah. I do like that. That's something I grew up with, obviously. So I'm harkening back to that. If it was. If it was anything else, it would probably be somewhere on the Old Town. It would have to be. It would have to be.
The Old Town in Warsaw.
In Warsaw, yeah. Yes, yeah. Although, because I went to Gdańsk, so 2 weeks ago I was in Gdańsk, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
But it's one big restaurant.
Yes.
There's nothing else but restaurants, and I went to
Krakow's one big bar.
Yes, yeah, and Krakow's beautiful. One of my mates had a flat. Both of them got flats there, and renting and all this renting business and whatever. And they love it, fantastic. But last year I discovered Lublin.
Lublin's nice, and
obviously it's got the main city, but Lublin, the old town itself, is just a little micro. It's sort of like a quarter of the size of the old town in Warsaw.
Oh yeah, it's very well
everything's
preserved.
in there.
Yeah,
the only thing about that is, in Lublin, is there's no Polish food, and I love Polish food. I don't come to Poland for kebabs and pizzas. I come here for bigos, pierogi, and all the other beautiful Polish dishes.
You'd be surprised how many kebab and pizza places there are dotted throughout the country.
I mean, I know the Poles have their own. They're fed up with their own stuff. They want other people's, but I don't. I want that. So it's that. And I did visit Sandomierz, but that would be a difficult one to actually be in. Because it's almost like a model village.
Yes.
And you're sort of going, lovely, but difficult and hard to get in and out of. But it have to be the old town. It can't be somewhere,
Yeah, because I was there last year, and first line, the train line to there is buggered.
Yes, I know. We know that. We went there 2 years ago. we actually got a lift in, and then we were going to come back by train. And the train station was absolutely deserted. It was, I mean, so what? Is there going to be no buses laid on? We get, what's going on?
Yeah, it's been.
I don't know if they're
going
to be rebuilding it or whatever.
It's one of the slowest construction projects I've seen.
Shuttered up everywhere.
But secondly, it's so rural, like because the thing is, like, it's surrounded by fields and vineyards. So.
Well, not just, because if you actually look from Sandomierz itself, you can actually see the factories and the new town of Sandomierz. The blocks and the modern buildings and everything else. It's just that sort of like that microcosm of history is literally like a little pearl sitting there. But you're going, yeah, but there's nothing else.
Yeah.
There's just nothing else. Here in Warsaw, you could go, yeah, okay, but I could pop to the Palace of Culture, no problem. Walk that way, and it's eminently walkable.
In Warsaw, there's a new museum every year, basically.
Right.
I mean, this city is developing so quickly. There are entire new housing estates here since when I moved. They're going to be rebuilding Saski Palace.
Really? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. There's a controversial one because it's going to be very expensive, of course. But yeah, Warsaw is growing, and
well, and so it should. I think there was some mention of a larger airport being built on the outskirts.
Yeah,
and I'm sort of going.
There are a couple of airports going around.
What are you sure? You sure?
Well, so
but they do want it. They definitely want it, but.
Well, there was the airport they built in Radom, which nobody uses, which was a big joke.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about Warsaw.
I know.
I'm literally talking about Warsaw.
I know.
I'm not talking about Gatwick, London.
But
because it's not London, I don't accept that.
But it's a saga. You see, it's a saga.
It's a saga.
So the Radom airport has been I don't know what's happening with that exactly now, but it seems to be a kind of the running joke in Poland. And now the plan is halfway between Warsaw and Łódź, there'll be this super airport, and they want it to be a hub, like Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Which will be a nightmare if they get rid of like Chopin and places and replace it with a super hub, because I hate super hubs. I want easy travel. I don't want 10
wait a minute. What I've noticed, and I know we're going to drag out now. You can do part 1 and part 2. Listen. They drag out. I've noticed you go to which was surprised me because I'd missed a few years, and I sort of came back and I went, wow. And then we went to some of the big shopping centres like the Złote Tarasy, or the ones at the end of the metro line, Młociny.
Młociny.
Yeah, Młociny that way. And I went and we went into there, and I was with them with my daughter and her husband and a little one. We walked in and went, hello. And I went, I immediately see, because of my architecture and design background, I went, I know what they've done. They've looked at how badly everybody else has done it and just not done the bad bits because they look great. The shopping centres look brilliant.
They do. And I don't mind them. There are a lot of people that hate them.
I don't know. Polish people?
It's the concept. Like people prefer the traditional. Like shop on your street.
Yeah, I do like shops on streets, but but this they've done well.
Yes.
The metro they've done brilliantly.
Yes.
The railway stations are getting to be good now. If that follows the trend for the airport hub, it will probably be one of the best in Europe.
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
because it works.
I mean, like if they finally restore a flight to Newcastle, I'll be happy. It would just be nice to see my family without having to change cities on the way, and for them to visit Warsaw easily because they want to see it and I want to show them it. Otherwise they could drive. I don't think it even goes to Glasgow now. They'd have to, or Edinburgh. They'd have to go to Manchester. I think it's the closest place to them.
Probably.
And that's not even close.
Yeah, no. But this is where, because of Lublin, that's why I decided to come to Gdańsk this time. Probably next time I'll probably go to Szczecin, maybe.
Yeah, it's nice. I was just there
last week. I've got to think which places I need to go to. But yeah,
I mean, I think after this year, probably after this year, I will be in a position to start doing top tens and stuff.
Mm.
Like I have beginners Poland for the people that have never been here.
Yeah.
Intermediate Poland.
Do this.
Yeah.
First time in Poland, do this.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince a couple of my mates from work or whatever. Yeah. So literally today, I was texting him because I just had something at the restaurant in the old town, and I said, "Look, this is it. That looks nice. That looks good." And I thought that send him a panorama view of the town. I said, "Have I convinced you to come over yet or not?" Right, are we making plans for September? Come on, long weekend. You and your missus. Flights are cheap, no problem. We can probably figure out putting you up. I'm trying to convince them.
I only had one friend come and visit me in Warsaw. He loved it, but yeah,
I think people are surprised when they see it.
Oh yes,
because they think, oh God, Soviet era rubbish and all this. There's one heartbreaking thing, well, two actually, but one heartbreaking thing that really from my childhood that I can't, that sort of like I can't forgive them. There's a building on the Marszałkowska just down from the PKO building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big thing, big structure, colonnade, columns, square blocks, and that used to be the Centralna Składnica Harcerska. That used to be the central scouts shop.
Oh, okay.
And that was probably the best shop for kids ever. Not only did you get all your scouting gear, your axe, your knife, and your sheath knife, and your uniforms, and all of that, train sets, model kits, tools for working, anything, radio control stuff you can get there. It was almost like a foreign shop, but it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. They had a big railway train table set up, so you walked in, you could actually look at it in detail. It's a HO set, or you could go along the balcony at the top and look at the big thing from the top as they were all going around. It was just a wonderful place.
I remember places
and now it's
like
some
that when I was a
ministry,
kid.
something rubbish or whatever.
Yeah, like all the good toy stores in the UK are dead. You've got Hamleys left. I think that's about it.
No, I didn't think that was good anyway.
No, there was. I remember there was one in Tame, like the Pied Peddler or something, Pied Piper or something, and that was amazing. I used to get so much there. It had a lovely layout. There was one in Oxford, which again, had this trains going around.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to be so magical.
Next to the art shop, it was Art Worker, and then there was it was a model shop.
Yeah,
I know that one. It was across from the Oxford bookshop. They had the car parking in the middle.
Everything in the UK seems to be so much better when I was a kid.
Yeah, okay, it's nostalgia,
yes,
but it isn't.
Yeah.
But it isn't, because life was tough. Look, in the 60s, when we first turned up, I would go to the shops with my aunts. They actually ran a little gospoda, which was a little restaurant thing. And they because they could get stuff, whatever. But they used to know everybody. But the shops had grey bags of God knows what. It was either rice or flour or sugar, maybe sugar, not always. Yeah. And bottles of vinegar. If you want anything, it was under the counter. Yeah. There was nothing. You walked in a shop, there was nothing. It was like they just opened or just closed. Finished. So in the late 60s, early 70s, I know what it was like. I know the struggle that they went through. I mean, okay, it didn't affect me because they sort of like, there was a cushion between them because I was young. And also the exchange rate for dollars, if you actually found someone who wanted to buy them for that price, was brilliant. Made you a rich person, which was great. But but that's not the point. Is they then beat the system and became what it is now. And getting back to the topic that we started off with, that's the same feeling I'm getting in England. It's that oppression that I've seen before 60 years ago.
I had a comment about that just a couple of days ago.
It's happening. And it's happening. And if people don't wake up, you might as well not call him Starmer. You might as well call him Stalin.
Yeah.
And people do already. But I mean, it literally is that. But the other thing that saddens me is Where it comes from, we can comment till the cows come home. We used to get on as I said earlier, we used to get on a bus in Scolimouth and travel into Warsaw, but we never used to sit down. If the bus was completely empty, which they sometimes were, we'd sit down. As soon as an adult walked onto that bus, we were off our seats. In respect, they get to sit first wherever they want, and the kids would stand. It wasn't a case of, now it's the kids are rushing in first, sitting, plonking their seats down, phones. Someone with someone older, and I'm not talking about myself. I don't care. But someone with crutches or whatever, they have to hobble on. They don't even get the courtesy of the time of day. Please sit down.
I'd see it sometimes.
That's gone. That's that. Yeah, but this is. I mean, it's gone. You can say sometimes as much as you want. It's not there anymore. And what has caused that, I don't know. I suspect. Everybody'd say, "Oh, it's probably the internet and this, that, and the other." Yeah, but I would also add to it that locking people up during COVID didn't help because it didn't teach them something that they ought to have been taught. That courtesy that we lost a lot earlier than Poland did, but opening doors for people.
I think there is a lot to be said for the smartphone thing, though, because I mean, it makes people so much more self-absorbed, and I like the.
But whose fault is it? Is it the fault of the people using it, or is it the fault of the people who actually invent these things so that you're dependent on doing it? You can't buy a ticket without doing that. You can't order food without doing that. You can't. Everything suddenly is, use the application. Why can't I just say, I want a banana, please? It's just, and here's your 10 zloty. Give me change. Why does it have to be bang, bang, boom? Especially when my kids laugh at me because they say, just use it. There's an app for that. And if my kids stand beside me when someone says to that, they just fall about laughing because it starts off with, me and technology have got sort of like, a grudge match all the time.
See, I'm 50-50 because I was born at just the right time, young enough to remember, old enough to remember life before technology took over the world, but young enough to have learned the technology while I was growing up.
Yeah, but the thing is, I grew up with it, and I sort of like there's a period of time where it literally has gone so fast that it's left me. Even the stuff that I used to be able to do on the computer, graphic design and art stuff, the program now bears no relation to its namesake that I used at the beginning.
Oh, if you asked me,
I'm sort of going, I have no idea. I used to do that, and then it was done. And now I have to do what drop down what?
Oh, I mean, like a lot of technology interfaces and stuff has got worse. I mean, I have a friend who works at Google, and I said to him, "What's wrong with the Google search engine nowadays? Like, it used to give this many pages of results, now it gives this many." And he was like, "Yeah, it's deliberate." There's
the best thing that they took out of Google that they shouldn't have is search within results. I loved that when that was on. You asked for something, it was generic. You got 50 million answers, and I went, "Oh no, search within results for the same thing," and it used to whittle it down, and you could get a decent answer from that. Well, now you can't.
Well, they're saving money. They killed most
of their... Is it saving money?
Yeah, of course. It's like tiny things, but like they killed the opposition because let's be honest, there aren't really many other good search engines, and when they do pop up, Google will buy them if they become good. And then they're like, okay, so if we limit the features, it's less computing power, we save money, and it's about controlling the market for them. But I'm going to call it a day there.
Yes, it's been great. We can make notes and start all over again. No, it's great. Thanks a lot.
No, appreciate your time.
Chatting. No, it's great chatting. Someone who listens and probably shocks me to the police next time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got another video on the way, and I've said if I moved back to the UK, I'd be arrested because I couldn't be quiet about the bullshit I see. But
No,
thank
yeah,
guys.
absolutely. Thank you.
If you stayed with us through the video, thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll do a follow up with Edward in the future. We'll think of some more topics. But please like, subscribe, and see you again very soon.
Might do it over lunch. That'd be a good one.
Oh, yeah, true.